Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin and DK, running the cat ship here. We're excited to talk about and get you prepared for the Baltimore Ravens, Atlanta Falcons upcoming matchup. It's going to be a cold one, Glenn. I'll tell you what.
Brutal.
I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a fun game. But a lot to talk about tonight, from injuries to coaching comments to Tyler Huntley starting at quarterback. Lots and lots to get into. So we're going to do it here. But I think, Glenn, we're going to start with the Pro Bowl announcements.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, I know that we'll go over the specific names. The Ravens had 6. Still incredible to me. This is Roquan Smith's first Pro Bowl, and he officially has more All-Pros than Pro Bowls.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a possibility.
Yeah, apparently.
But yeah.
Shout out to Roquan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well-deserved. I think he still leads the league in tackles. If the league leader in tackles isn't on the Pro Bowl roster, then I'm not sure, why you're doing that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Shout out to Roquan. It's nice to see, and certainly the connection of him and Pat Queen in the middle has been something special since he's arrived. But also making the Pro Bowl, named as a starter, is fullback Patrick Ricard. Should come as no surprise. I think they should call this the annual Pat Ricard Award in the AFC until either he departs from the Ravens or, that's probably the only way he would ever not make the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
He makes it again. Kicker Justin Tucker, no surprise there as well. Is it the state of the return man, kind of reflection of Devin Duvernay making it, or is it? Because he had one kick return, but other than that, has been relatively underwhelming the last handful of games as a returner.
But he's still the only one, right? As far as a kickoff
Is he
return.
really?
A kickoff return. We've had punt returns.
Yeah.
But he's the only one to do kickoff return. And I think he's the only one to do it in back-to-back years as of late as well.
That's crazy. Those 4 are the starters. And I think wasn't Nick Moore named as an alternate?
Alternate, yeah.
I believe. And isn't there somebody else? I feel like I'm missing somebody.
I'll look it up, but I don't think you're missing anyone.
I thought there were 6. I only named 5.
Oh, let me see here.
Oh, there we go. Marlon.
Oh, right. Yeah. Man, how can we? Sorry, Marlon. No disrespect to you.
Yeah, Marlon Humphrey makes his, I believe, 3rd Pro Bowl. Shout out to him.
It's one of his best seasons I think we've seen on display. I know statistically not all things are the same sometimes. He had the year with all the knockouts and things, but man, Marlon just looks well-rounded and polished this year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he continues to get better. He's one of the faces of the franchise, no doubt. He makes his 3rd. Pat Ricard makes his 4th, which, by the way, is 3rd most on offense in Ravens history, behind the 11-time Pro Bowl Jonathan Ogden and 8-time Pro Bowler Marshall Yanda. So he's entering some pretty rarefied air there, being 3rd most on offense as a Raven in history. So, shout to those guys. I think there's some other names that I think have a little bit of a reason to be snubbed. I don't quite understand how Kevin Zeitler can lead all guards in fan voting, but not named to the Pro Bowl. Not really sure how that is even possible, but he's a fantastic guard on the best running attack in the AFC, and yet he doesn't make the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, pretty shocking to me. Honestly, he was the biggest snub, but I think right behind him as well. I was pretty surprised that Linderbaum didn't get in there either. He's been absolutely dominating on the inside. Certainly, it seems every game, he gets better and better, where, there were some question marks at the beginning of the season, but man, he's really turned all those question marks into exclamation points, right? Like, he's really done a good job to show why he was worth a 1st-round pick. And it's a surprise to me that none of the big 3 in the middle made it. No one on our offensive line, if I'm not mistaken, made it. And we have probably a top 3 offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah, that one's kind of
Seems
a head
weird,
scratcher.
right?
Certainly. I wonder if maybe teams or the voting committee was leaning more towards a pass-happy offense, but I don't quite understand that. I think at the very minimum, Zeitler should have made it, and I think you're right. And I think Linderbaum's a huge consideration. Now, I get why Powers doesn't make it, although he's played at that level, but just the name and the fact that he's a relative newcomer to the scene. Well, newcomer to the national. Newcomer to being a consistent starter. He wasn't even, penciled in as the starter early on. So, But shout out to him for playing his way at least into the conversation of being a snub. One thing I wanted to point out, Jimbo, 11 Pro Bowlers this season were drafted by or started their careers as an undrafted free agent with the Ravens. So that means an eighth of the Pro Bowl roster started as a Raven.
That's impressive.
That's not
man.
bad, right? You're talking Andrews, Humphrey, Tucker, Ricard, Duvernay, Juszczyk, Morgan Cox, Mosley, Zadarius Smith, Orlando Brown, and Matthew Judon all started as Ravens, are all Pro Bowlers this year. And that doesn't include guys we just talked about who we think maybe got slighted with Zeitler. You talk about, doesn't include Ronnie Stanley, who's an all-pro, doesn't include Lamar, doesn't include maybe Linderbaum, who most view as a snub. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a feather in Eric DeCosta's cap for those out there that are doubting his ability to draft, right? I think that's pretty impressive. So yeah, shout out to the
draft
to
and then the coaches to develop.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, shout out to the squad. Excited to watch I might be lying. The Pro Bowl games. Whatever it ends up being. But either way, I think the biggest thing is that there's incentives and contracts for this. And I'm sure that there's not only incentives, but in the contractually, but also there's money to get there and do your thing and things like that. So shout out to the players for making a couple extra
bucks. It means
bucks.
a lot, right?
Yeah, for sure. You add that to your resume and things for sure. So shout out. But we're here to get you guys prepared for this Ravens Falcons matchup. As the playoff picture continues to become clearer and clearer, every game seems to be more and more magnified. So this being an AFC NFC matchup coming into this game, of course, the Ravens are second in the AFC North. The Falcons are last in the AFC South at opposites, in the win-loss column. Ravens 9-5, the Falcons are 5-9, but a game out. So this is a playoff game for both teams.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it's crazy to think that with their record, they're still perfectly in range to take over the leading of that division. So yeah, I mean, they have everything to play for, but I think it's still kind of obvious that they're playing for the future. This isn't a team that's expecting to win anything. In fact, I wonder if the move to Ritter was for with this season in mind, or really just thinking about the future, right? And kind of trying to develop their young quarterback.
See what they got in him and things like that. Give him reps.
We'll see. I don't know if it was if there was much of a choice, but I'm just saying. I wonder in the back of their mind, are they really thinking, "Hey, let's go win this division. Let's go win this division, then see what happens." But we'll kind of wait and see on that. But yeah. This is an interesting game because this is a game the Ravens absolutely have to have, Jimbo. If they want to win this division, this is a must-have because they're going to go take on a Pittsburgh team that I think would love to play spoiler against the Ravens. Would absolutely love it. And then the final game is against the Bengals in Cincinnati, a game that I think they're going to be underdogs in. So this game is a must-win. It's an absolute must-win. You're talking about Atlanta coming to this freezing cold. This is Ritter's first road outdoor start. So it's going to be cold.
Now he did play in Cincinnati, in college.
Right? We're talking about the pros.
No, and for sure.
It's going to be insanely cold is what, their predictions are. So
8 to 22 degrees.
Oof, man. So, I mean, that's something that he's going to have to deal with. So this is a game. I don't care who's at quarterback, Jimbo. When you play a 5-9 football team, turn into a rookie in his second career start on the road at the bank in a must-win, got to win that game. Got to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a fun one to get into. I'm interested to talk about the over-unders in this game as well. So let's get right into the injury report, though, to kind of set the stage for who's going to be there, who's not going to be there, et cetera. And, of course, the big one, as DK throws this up on the screen, the big one is Lamar Jackson, we already know, is out. He didn't practice all week. There was some scuttlebutt, right? Like there was a little bit of noise that he was going to, make his way back this week. But honestly, I'm not crazy surprised that he's not back. So Tyler Huntley will be the starter. But, the other big name to me is Calais Campbell, who's going to be out. He's still dealing with the knee, and we'll see how long that takes.
That's a big loss for them this game, Jimbo.
Big loss because we're playing against a good running football team offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. And Calais Campbell's a big part of the reason why the Ravens are number 2 stopping the run. But also a big loss on defense. Marcus Peters.
Yep.
Every time we see either Marcus or Marlon out off the field, we usually see the quarterback attacking their replacement. Early and often and throughout. And sometimes, these guys have a pretty quick hook. You'll see a corner start the game. He won't last very long. Boom, he's replaced by another guy. It'll be really interesting to see how John Harbaugh works the active list. I think there's going to be a lot of corners up in anticipation that maybe you have to do some shuffling around. I don't think we'll see healthy scratches to that unit like we saw last week when we saw meaningless starts or meaningless roster spots in cases like Nick Boyle and David Ajabo.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing I want to mention too that's worth talking about is Tyler Huntley, of course, has the shoulder issue. He's not 100% healthy. Now he's going to play through it, but it will mean something. If I'm not mistaken, it's on his throwing hand or his throwing shoulder, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Now, one of the things I want to tease you guys with that we're not going to talk about yet, but we've seen all these playoff scenarios come through, and we talked about them in our last show. How will the rest of the season with Lamar Jackson kind of pan out with a potential clinch this weekend? That'll be really interesting to see. I want to get into that a little later, Glenn, because I'd like to get your thoughts on it. I've had a lot of thoughts myself. And you throw in the mix of the contract, right? And you got to know whether or not that's in Lamar's mind. I don't know, but we'll do our best to put ourselves inside his brain and let you know what our thoughts are. But all right, so let's talk about these matchups from a unit versus unit perspective. Let's see who we starting with here. We're starting with the Falcons defense. And it was funny because when we hopped on the show before we started, Glenn was like, as an NFC team, you got to familiarize yourself, right? You go back, you look at some stats, you watch some tape, and then you make sure you feel prepared. And one of the things that's interesting to me about this team, Glenn, is John Harbaugh has always said, we run the ball, we stop the run, right? Well, they run the ball and they get ran on because, this team overall defensively is 28th. They are, they're 21st against the rush, 28th against the pass, 22nd in scoring. So not only do they get ran on, they get passed on as well.
Yeah.
Not a great defense down in the ATL. And the Ravens, of course, will be looking to take advantage of that. Right now, they're giving up 28 points a game, which would be a miracle if we could score 28 points in this game. On third down, they are, let's see.
They give up 23.8, right?
What did I say? 28? My bad. 23.8. Yeah, 24 rounded up. Let's see here. What else I got for you for the Atlanta? Let's see. What are they giving up per game on the ground? Rushing, they're giving up $130 on the ground and in the air, which is incredible. But in the air, they're giving up 248 in the air. So, and their third down efficiency is also not great. They're at just about 50%. They're 47.2. I mean, that's just about 50%, proposition. So they have a tough time getting teams off the field. Not a great defense that the Baltimore Ravens are playing against. Are there some guys that we should be on the lookout, you think, Glenn? We should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I mean, there's always there's guys on every team that'll certainly impact the stat category. I mean, Rashaan Evans, middle linebacker out of Alabama, is good. He's a tackling machine, leads their team in tackles by a pretty wide margin. Grady Jarrett leads their team in sacks. He can get after the quarterback. Safety Richie Grant, he'll kind of check a lot of boxes. I think he's tied on the team lead in picks with 2, team lead in pass breakups. He'll also come down and tackle. I think he's third on the team in tackles. So they got some guys, but you're right. I mean, they don't have a ton of impactful names defensively, which is probably why they're at the bottom half more than that, the bottom third of the league in most defensive categories. They're just not playing well. It's kind of interesting because their head coach brought over this philosophy of, run the ball and play good defense from when he came over from Tennessee. Well, he's ran the ball pretty well, but still trying to find his footing when it comes to putting together a good defense out in Atlanta. They're struggling right now, but this is a team that I bet is licking their chops when they see the offense that they're going up against. Yeah. Let's be honest. this is an offense that can make the average look very above average, especially when you consider, like Jimmy said, that there's been limited practice time with Huntley's shoulder injury. So an already off balance and out of sync offense is now taking their quarterback off the field for some practice time. That can't be well. They lose their number 2 receiver in the early parts of the week of practice. That isn't good. I wonder, like, they bring in Sammy Watkins, but how much can, like, because fans are hoping, look, renewed focus. Everyone knows that they're calling them out for their passing game. Something's got to change. Something's got to get better. How can things get better, Jimbo, when you're losing players and you got limited practice participation from your quarterback? Like, it's still Greg Roman. So how can a fan and go and look at this defense and go, yeah, they're playing an Atlanta defense not very good, but how can I have any confidence as a Ravens fan that the offense can move the ball?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a funny thing, right? Like you said, because nature, you look at this defense and you're like, all right, this is the game, a get right game. And I've been saying that all season. We have these get right games in the schedule that look good, and none of it has panned out that way. I said that about Carolina. I think I said that about the Jags and even the Steelers game. So, it's certainly not panned out that way. So yeah, it's an interesting position that we're in right now because we should have an opportunity. You wonder who in their minds has more confidence, the Ravens offense or their defense, neither of which have been very good, right? Like, should either
right
of them
now
have confidence?
Shook. The Ravens offensive players look either frustrated or a little shook right now. And that's what's scary.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm interested to kind of talk about that. Talk to me about how we've been doing, Glenn, from a statistics standpoint for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, trends in the wrong direction. I think we have, in the last games, we scored what? Like 10, 16, and 3 or something like that. It's been
bad.
It's been a really rough go at it. But how you guys have been hearing it all week, but break it down for us, Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, look, the first game when we saw the combination of Huntley and then when he went out, Anthony Brown, things looked okay because, of course, they got the win, but also they were successful on the ground and they didn't shoot themselves in the foot with a bunch of turnovers. But even in a win, it wasn't good from a passing standpoint. I mean, the combination of the two quarterbacks, Huntley and Brown, went 11 for 17 for 94 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. They were sacked twice, one apiece. But they were bailed out by a 215 rushing yard performance. And again, they didn't have a bunch of turnovers. That's what helped them. But then you kind of look at last week and they weren't so lucky when it comes to turnovers. And I think that's the big key right now is, can this offense at the very least just control the football? I mean, if you don't do anything else, don't give the other team more opportunities than they're allotted. But last week, I mean, you score 3 points when you have that kind of rush attack. It's absolutely mind-blowing, Jimbo. Let me just give you – Tyler Huntley goes 17 of 30, 138 yards, has the pick. He sacked 3 times. I mean, we got fumble loss from Demarcus Robinson where he's holding the ball just too nonchalantly. I mean, it was just an absolute disastrous passing attack from the Ravens. We had multiple scenarios where we had players standing 2-3 yards away from one another, no spacing, no rhythm to the offense. It's aggravating. But I will say this, Jimbo, when you have that great of a run attack, and that's pretty damn good to know that you have that in your back pocket. Like, at least well, we got this, because we didn't have that. It's like, what are you looking forward to? What are we doing here? Yeah, what's the hope for? But when you have that rush attack, does it give you a little hope that you could, at the very least, develop a serviceable play action passing attack off of that great run attack?
Yeah, it gives me some hope. You're absolutely right. I mean, because how much easier can it be made for our passing attack? You know what I'm saying? Like, what else can they ask for? If you're looking to build if you're looking to have a respectable, I don't know if that's the word, serviceable,
efficient at least.
Yeah, maybe not even that. Like, functional.
It's not embarrassing. Yeah, there you go. Functional,
right?
That's a good word.
Can you just be like a Toyota? I don't know
Tercel.
Yeah, right? Like, can you be the most
a Corolla, man?
Yeah, just the bare bones. Like,
You know?
just do that, right? Like, go down to work and back. That's all we need. Point A to point B, and you go home. That's it. Don't need the Lambo. If Greg can figure out that one.
Yeah, it's 100% because he doesn't look like there's a marriage between the two attacks. It's like they're disjointed, and obviously the gap between success is pretty extreme. And I tell you, I hear him saying that he doesn't. I listened to the pressers. He said he doesn't listen to the noise. He can't. He said it's one of the first things he learned, and that's one of the first things he tells any coach that he meets that's getting into the business is you can't listen to the noise, whether good or bad.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time believing that because I've seen video of him walking from the stadium, and I don't condone this. I think it's pretty much a dirtbag move, but I see fans literally screaming at him where he has no choice but to hear that. So he's aware of all the criticisms. Why can't – I mean, look, he's been around football a long time. I mean, it's football. It's like Joe Flacco used to say, this isn't rocket science. It's football.
Right.
I get that it's complex, but it's still football. This isn't rocket science. Why can't – I just don't get how you can have this ridiculously complex half of your offense and look completely inept at the other side of it. It makes me kind of scratch my head. Why can't he fix it?
Yeah. I'm glad. Yeah, I don't know. The hard thing for me as well is that, like, you have this overwhelmingly valuable asset. And how do you use it to then buoy up the other things around it? You know what I mean? Like it's an odd one. Poor Greg. You know, I'm a short dude. I'm a short king myself, but dude, I saw that video of him getting absolutely hammered by the fans when he's walking out of the stadium. His duffel bag goes down to his shins. I mean, that thing is like scraping the ground.
If he goes over a curb, he's got to lift it.
Gosh, poor guy. I feel bad, man, because look, I've got made fun of playing times for my height, but dang, Greg Roman's got it bad. But all that being said, you know, his chair in the booth is like this, Glenn. All the way up.
His feet are just going like this.
Just kicking back and forth.
He's swinging.
Oh, man. But, so offensively, it's been tough. You guys have heard it all week, whether it's local radio, whether it's us, whether it's wherever. It's been the talk of the town. The wide receivers, the lack thereof, has been the talk of the town.
So what's the attack this week? What's the game plan this week if you're Greg Roman?
Key to the game for me is I like the aggression, but I'm also kind of tired of it. Like, can we just get points when we're in the red zone, please? Like, I don't want the fourth down stuff anymore. Just
under no scenario, or are you talking about?
I mean, sure. If it's to win even if it's to win the football game instead of tie it, give me the tie. I just want the points. Take the points that are there. So, like, be in the red zone, get the points. Stop with the aggression. Like, that offensively is a huge, key for me. But the other thing I want to say too is, take what's given, right? Like, have you noticed that Huntley does this more than Lamar? This long pass on the opposite side of the field that ends up being like a 3-yard gain, that, like, if it's like a 50-yard pass, it's just a simple example, and it's like for 3 yards to the opposite, us. So what I'm trying to say is that there's got to be ways to scheme things up to make passes easier, and Huntley has got to take it.
Yeah.
Like, just anyway, I feel like there's a lot of keys to this game, but
every game we try and limit it down to one each, but it's kind of,
because I could sit here and say run the ball.
Redundant either. Yeah, you don't want to be redundant either and say the same things.
Right, B-Moore's got it right. We just need to run the damn ball.
Well, I mean, at some point you have to somehow. Right. To me, my key to the game is just find your play action passing game. I mean, I don't understand how you can be this good at running and not have a basic, easy play action passing game off it. I can't understand, especially, I mean, Tyler Huntley's no Lamar Jackson, but the guy can move. I mean, you can boot, you can roll him out, you can do some things on the run. It's not like he's a statue. There's really no excuse for a couple of things if you're Greg Roman. There should be no excuse for the play calling, play clock issues at the end of. You should never have this issue where you're up against the end of the clock multiple times in a game. You're having to call timeouts in ridiculous situations. You're getting delay of games off of timeouts. That is inexcusable. And the other thing that's inexcusable if you're Greg Roman, is not having a play action pass attack. It just makes absolutely zero sense. Like the two are hand in hand.
Peanut
it's
butter
like
and jelly, dude.
Yeah, you can't. It makes absolutely no sense that at the very least, I get like say you don't have the luxury of running play action because you're down and maybe you struggle in that scenario. Like maybe you struggle in a 5 wide. We got to come back down 17 in the fourth quarter. Okay. But you can't play action pass off of the greatest run scheme that's ever been seen by the NFL. That's insane to me. So,
and especially look, at the very least, well, especially with Sammy there, you got some guys that can move. You got Sammy, you got Deshaun. You know, they haven't been there for
big tight ends where you can create mismatches by going heavy package.
Right.
There's just no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, and if you can keep the defense on their heels and you say, hey, Deshaun, you see that goalpost? Beat the guy in front of you to the goalpost.
That's
like,
it.
It doesn't have to be a complicated thing because I know that we don't have personnel. Glenn, do you know who our longest, if I'm not mistaken, our longest tenured, relatively like active wide receiver is right now?
Oh my gosh, right now. Prochet,
dude.
Oh.
James. I mean, I'm not counting like Benjamin Victor or
Yeah. Actually, guys that play.
Yeah, it's James Prochet. Our 4 wide receivers are going to be Demarcus Robinson, James Prochet, Sammy Watkins, and who am I missing? Oh, Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, that's oh, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. But I mean, they've got to find a way to
get more,
to complement that run game. They just have to. I mean, you just have to.
Or literally just stop passing the football. This won't happen, but like just give it up.
I mean, he did that. He gave up the run game in the fourth quarter, which is absolutely inexcusable, especially when you consider you were down at the most 10 points.
Yeah.
So it's not like it anyway. So yeah, they got to find it. I hope that JK and Gus can continue to work and build on what they've already been doing these past few weeks. But who do you think benefits? I mean, let's go right into our breakout player. Because to me, when I think of play action pass attack, I think, let's try and get a big play. Let's try and get a chunk play.
Sure.
And I think they're going to try and welcome back Sammy Watkins to Baltimore and get some juice flowing, get some good energy out there about this offense, and maybe some good headlines pop up across the bottom of ESPN the next day. I think they try and find a way to get Sammy Watkins a deep touchdown this game.
Yeah, and oh man, I don't want at risk. We've had Ryan Mink on the show. I love me some Ryan Mink. I really do. Like I feel like he'd be cool to go out to dinner with. But at the risk of sounding like Ryan Mink, being a like homer of homers, right?
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins, it's fair to say this, like it would, all things considered, like when he's healthy, he's probably already our best route runner. It's probably the closest thing we have to a number one. No, it's also not saying a lot. It's probably more of an indictment of our wide receiver room.
Well, the only discussion is Demarcus Robinson, right?
And is it really?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Sammy, outside of his hammy, is a thoroughbred, right? Like,
I mean, well, outside of his,
he just can't stay healthy.
Well, he can't stay healthy. I question some of his
like motivation.
Well, in-game short arm and stuff. I don't like that, but
But the dude's got all the tools, right?
He does. He does. He's the most talented guy in the room.
Yeah. So anyway, I like yours, and what I'm trying to say is I can totally see it, right? It's kind of funny now that he's healthy at the end of the season because we didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Previous. So my breakout player though, Glenn, who is absolutely going to dominate this game is Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews has lost his mind. He is so angry.
Yeah.
Like right now, he is eating angry. He's sitting down at dinner and he's just
mashing food.
Oh, dude, he's going to stiff arm someone so hard. He's going to Salt Bae it all over the place. Do a little first down snap. Oh, dude, he's going to spike the football. Oh, I can't wait. I think he goes for 2 touchdowns in this game. And flirts with 100 yards.
Yeah, I like the tight ends having a good game. I think that's anytime we see usually like a player that's that frustrated, usually they try and incorporate them in the following week's game plan. So yeah, they got to get Mark going. Absolutely. I'm glad you brought him up because I think we may have we might be talking about Mark a little bit later on in the show as well.
Yeah, 30-second commercial break, Glenn. How bad is Zach Wilson? How horrible is Zach Wilson? Like, I just have this on the side here. They keep panning over to Joe Flacco, and he's just sitting on the sideline like, it's like, dude, I can't watch this.
I mean, it's a shame because I think they got a championship team around him. I really do. I mean, maybe not totally offensive. Defensively, though, I think they got it. But yeah, Zach Wilson right now, 1 for 4 for 27 yards, and he's been sacked once.
Yeah, and I just also want to mention, I think we're going to get into it a little bit later before we kind of switch sides. Likely, of course, is another guy I think that will be impacted, right, by even the Duvernay injury. But Likely's been up and down this year, don't you think?
Well, I mean, Likely was phenomenal in that little stint while Mark was out, but yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why they can't
go hot and cold with a guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like find a way to get consistent production. It just seems like you said, so hot and cold. Not just him, like the disappearance of Devin Duvernay in the offense.
Yeah,
like went from I don't understand. Yeah, just practice a little less in that complex run scheme, and let's do a little bit more throwing the ball, a little bit more. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. But yeah, okay, all right. So that's our keys. That's our. To me, it's run the ball, play action. Let's attack the middle of the field and hopefully pick up a chunk play here and there.
Hopefully, just fingers crossed, and everything's a cherry on top if you're talking about a chunk play. But yeah, but Glenn, all the pressure's on our defense, I think, really in this game as it has been. So let's talk about our defense versus their offense. We kind of talked about it off the jump. Of course, they got Desmond Ridder, of course, and this is his second start. Last week was his first start, right?
Yep.
But talk to me about this. Yeah, talk to me about this Falcons offense thus far, as far as what you've seen and what we should look out for.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what we saw last week because Desmond Ridder was the starter. It's not a whole lot to talk about with the other guys at quarterback. So in his first start, he goes to New Orleans to take on the New Orleans Saints. They lose 21-18 to the Saints, but on the road for his first start, it's no easy task, especially in that loud of an arena. But had some rookie struggles, Jimbo. In his first start, he goes 13 of 26, so 50% completion percentage, 97 yards, averaged 3.7 yards per attempt, had no touchdowns, no picks, was sacked 4 times, had a QB rating of 59. QBR of 31. Not sure the difference, but they gave me both, so I read them both.
Look, either way, they're both terrible scores.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear he has a favorite target, even in that brief time. He only had 13 completions. More than half of those went to rookie Drake London.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's likely when the franchise drafted these two guys, they envisioned a lot of connections between those two for a very long time. He had 11 targets to get to those 7 catches for 70 yards. But, I mean, the next highest target getter had 3 targets. So it's pretty clear that Drake London is going to be the focus of Desmond Ridder in the passing game. Do have to worry about, the backs out of the backfield with Cordarrelle Patterson and Tyler. I've been looking at his name all day, and I'm just going to butcher it. I think it's Algier, but I could be wrong. And I didn't hear somebody say it, which I probably should have. But here's where they're good, Jimbo. They can run the rock, and in Arthur Smith being the head coach should be no shock.
Yeah.
This guy, Tyler, the rookie, Tyler Algier, who, by the way, rookie this year out of out of BYU, Jimbo. That's why I put that keynote. I don't know how you feel about that. 5th round pick out of BYU, Jimbo.
No wonder I didn't really take him seriously.
No, but all seriousness, though, he goes 17 carries last week, 139 yards. Jimbo, he averaged 8.2 yards per carry. Had a touchdown, had a long of 43 yards. But they're a two-headed monster because they started the year with an absolute monster at running back, and then just through injuries, they realized they got 2 of them. Cordarrelle Patterson is the other running back. He had 14 carries, only 52 yards last week, but did have a touchdown. But that guy's been really good all year. We know about him as a return man. He's arguably one of the greatest all-time returners in history. He's also a fantastic running back and wide receiver. I mean, this guy
just a dynamite with the football in his hands.
Absolutely do it all type of guy. So those are really the three guys you got to watch out for. Is Tyler Algier, Cordarrelle Patterson, and Drake London are the three, and of course Desmond Ridder. But yeah, I mean, it's an offense that likes to run the ball like crazy and pass when necessary. Desmond Ridder also last week, Jimbo, 6 carries, 38 yards, with a long run of 18 yards. So he will take off and run. Has some athleticism. So really it's like they're going to try and run the ball and pass when necessary.
Yeah.
And they'll throw it to Drake London when they do.
Yeah, for sure. Now, from a defensive perspective on our side, something to look out for in this game, if I'm not mistaken, they're one of their offensive linemen, Chuma, geez whiz, I'm not going to say this last name right either. Adoga. What's up?
Just do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chuma Adoga.
There you go.
He's out this weekend, and then of course the center was designated to return from IR. So they're shuffling at offensive line, and so from a defensive perspective, it would be interesting to see how our pass rush takes advantage of that. Especially like you said, with a young guy under center, some moving parts at the O-line. They're going to be in clear passing situations, I'm sure. As every team, we know we're a run-heavy team, and we encounter obvious passing situations, right? So in those situations, really, can our defense take advantage and pin their ears back? Look, all the pressures on this defense, like I mentioned, you guys know this team just as well as we do, but just to give you some stats, of course, the numbers for the defense generally continue to trend in the right direction. We're giving up a little over 18 points a game right now. As a unit, if you're talking like overall rankings here, our defense right now is 10th overall, 3rd against the rush, 25th against the pass. We're tied for 4th in scoring. And so look, our defense on 3rd down also, I think, does a much better job than the freaking Falcons. 32%. We're giving up, let's see, our man, that's interesting. I thought that I guess it went up a little bit. We're only giving up 85 yards a game, as far as rushing the football, and we're allowing 241 in the air. Didn't we give up we gave up last week? What, a buck 25?
It was, I think Chubb had 99 by himself, and then sprinkling the other guys. They had a lot of success in the fourth quarter with Calais out, and that's what's got me a little concerned. I mean, Calais Campbell being out, obviously this is a bigger role for a guy like Brent Urban, who sometimes will go inactive if we're not playing a real run heavy team. He'll definitely get additional snaps. It's going to be a big week for Broderick Washington.
Travis
Jones eating double teams, which he'll be asked to do a lot this week. Tyus Bowser, JPP sealing the edge. Both those guys have been the best edge guys on the team, so I think they'll continue to get a lot of snaps.
Man, how crazy is it that Adafe, Owe, and Ajabo are basically obsolete at this point? You're talking about JPP and Justin Houston from a pass rushing perspective instead of those two young boys.
Yeah, it's a problem. They need to get better.
Ajabo obviously not as big of an issue yet, right? He's just getting back.
He's still in the road recovery. What's going on, Lindsay? What's going on, Nick? Hey, what's going on, Tanja Bowman? Baltimore, Don C. Appreciate the love. Yeah, like, comment, and share. Shaman. Holy smokes. They've they've got to step it up in the front seven with Calais out, which looks to be, I don't think this is a 1-week injury. Just kind of, looking at how he kind of limped off the field. But let me ask you this from a passing standpoint or pass protection standpoint. Jeez, I'm messing. Do you see Marlon with Marcus out, with the uncertainty of whether Brandon Stevens can kind of hold his own while Marcus is out? Will Marlon be asked to shadow Drake London? I mean, he clearly loves throwing the ball to Drake London. Ridder force fed him the ball last week.
Right.
Do you think we'll see Marlon shadow him, or is Marlon going to kind of float around on multiple guys?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, on a lot of the third downs, last week, if not all of them, the majority of them, we were in zone coverage.
Yeah.
And so there, naturally, just based on how zone works, you're covering an area. And so there won't be a lot of that. But in man-to-man situations, I would be surprised. I think the Ravens are just going to play it straight up. And give, Brandon Stevens some opportunities. And in fact, spoiler alert, Brandon Stevens is my defensive breakout player of the game.
Whoa.
Breakout player of the game.
Gets his hands on one?
Well, look, yeah, I do think so. But I think not just that, I think Brandon Stevens has been close this year as far as, there's been some moments where he's a little too handsy and he's a physical corner. Yeah. But I don't feel like he's overwhelmed by the athleticism of the guys he's up against. I don't feel like he's in the wrong place or just completely lost or the lights are too big. He seems composed. He seems to be battling. He just seems close to me, and he's continuing to get better. And I think this game, given an opportunity to get a lot of reps with Peters out, knowing he's the only one, he's the guy. I think he's going to have a big game. So look out for Brandon Stevens to do that. But yeah, I mean, so to answer your question, I don't think I see it. Do you?
I don't. And like you said, I think if we see a ton of man, which I guess is possible, when you have a team that doesn't necessarily scare you on the outside, why not, run some tight man coverage, get after the quarterback and see if they can free themselves. In that situation, I'd be okay with it. I don't think I'd be really nervous if I see Kyle Hamilton matched up with him in the slot. I mean, I know he's not your typical looking slot corner. We've asked him to be that a lot this year. But Drake London doesn't strike me as a guy who has the short area quickness to really take advantage of maybe more of a long strider in Kyle Hamilton. I don't think he's going to be able to get a lot of separation on him either. I think his length and physicality could disrupt him a little bit. So I got confidence against a guy like Drake London, either whether it's Marlon on him on the outside or if he ends up inside. I do get nervous about the ability for Brandon Stevens to find the ball if he's asked to, cover a back shoulder or deep fade. That worries me a little bit because I don't want to see him flailing about catching PIs deep down the field where you look at the stat sheet and you go, how did they move the ball? Oh, they got penalties. They got deep down the field penalties. They attacked some mismatches down the field. That's what worries me. But I do think Mike Macdonald, and I expect Mike Macdonald to be fluid enough in his calls to adjust because he's been that way all year. When he sees a guy getting picked on, typically that guy's going to find himself at the end of the bench. But my only question is, who are they going to turn to with a Marcus out if they have to pull Stevens?
Right.
Who's the guy going into his place?
Yeah, it's like, then what? You know what I mean? But I think that opportunity for Brandon Stevens is going to allow him to step up. I think he's positively impacted by that little bit of pressure, knowing that, like, look, this is my time to shine. There's really no one else. There's no, they've burnt the boats. There's really no one coming in behind me. So Jax Cordella says, hey guys, just wanted to mention how having Gus and JK back along with Lamar might bring back that dominant read option we had in 1920. Overall, I mean, I agree with Jax 100%. Overall, I don't believe it is Homer-ish of me to say. I think it is anybody that objectively watches the Ravens realizes that, like I said in our Tuesday show, Glenn, Lamar Jackson is not here, and that is going to change. J.K. Dobbins and Gus in the backfield with Lamar hasn't happened in 2 years, along with Ronnie Stanley being healthy, also 2 years. And Mark Andrews has been playing poor.
Yeah.
All of things I just mentioned are going to change for the positive, barring an injury.
Well, are you starting to get nervous when Lamar will be back? Like, he's still yet to return to practice.
Right. Yeah. I want to talk about that. And I'm interested to see how the Ravens, you mentioned it. It was a good point. If they clinch this week, why bring him back? Do they want the division that bad?
Well, I think getting a home playoff game is a big deal. And I also think, you need to get some play. You need to get some play time if you're Lamar in this offense to get something going into the playoffs.
What do you think? I agree with you. What do you think the Ravens are thinking? Like, what is worth it to him more? The additional rest? You know what I mean? Because this isn't a pocket passer that's coming back. This is a guy that's got to be out there and running around.
No doubt. I mean, I think if there's any concerns about the knee, then he sits regardless. My only thing is, do they play it extra conservative and they go, even with it healthy, we're going to give it another week? Because sometimes we see that. We see guys, okay, he's healthy. give it at least another week, and then we'll get him out there. But I think that there's going to be some temptation to get him out there to gain some sort of momentum or some rhythm.
I can see it, and it's a difficult situation to be in, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, I think that they might side towards health. But I also understand your logic here, and I tend to agree with it. But I think it's going to be really interesting. Now, my last question to you is this. A lot of people are talking about the Ravens versus Lamar. And I get tired of the media stirring this up because, once again, I still don't think it's a thing. I don't know. Some people are saying there's no way he's back this year or next year, blah, blah, whatever, right? Like, I still am not ready to write him off as a long-term Raven. I think that's kind of crazy. But do you think the pending contract has anything to do with Lamar's willingness to come back or not?
I don't think so. He's a competitor. He wants to win. He wants to be with his teammates. I'd be surprised. And I also don't think he would necessarily hurt his value.
Right.
Because I think he's going to make money regardless. I can't imagine, because if he comes back and hurts himself, the blame will be likely be on the Ravens and and how they treated the injury. And I don't think his pockets will be impacted. So,
now I think Lamar, I would just look at Dak. I
mean, he had a horrible injury and got paid very well. So, I don't think that's the case, but I will say I'm getting nervous. I mean, here's the thing. You hear things and you don't know what's true. That's the part that's crazy, is you hear all these rumors and you wonder if it's just simply somebody typing. But I just hope there's no splintering between Lamar and the team, because I did hear, again, you don't know what's true, but I did hear things like, he's not showing up for rehab stuff.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily participating on everything he can to make sure he gets back on the field as early as possible. But who knows if that's just a bunch of BS? I mean, that's the part that sucks.
Well, and this is the other thing too, Glenn. This is me. It's just me. I could be burning the whole house down, Glenn. We might lose all our subscribers if I say this. But if that's who Lamar really is,
what's that?
If Lamar is really that person that isn't going to show up for this and that, and all these other things, then why would you give him a bag? Yeah. Because giving him a bag is only going to magnify who you are, not change who you are. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't think those things are true either, right? Yeah, but if it is, then why? You know what I mean? Why do it? Yeah. So, anyway, so let's get into our competition, Glenn. That's why we're all really here.
Did we do the players?
We didn't do did we do our breakout players?
Nah, or
I gave mine. You didn't give your breakout player, but go ahead and give your key if you want, and then you give your breakout player, and I'll give you my key. Yeah, when I look at this matchup, it's all about that two-headed monster. Mm-hmm. It's all about slowing down that ridiculous run attack of Tyler and Cordarrelle. Got to shut those two guys down. They're going to come and try, especially when they see Calais being out. I think they're going to try and come in here and establish a ground. The weather is going to play a huge impact in this game. I mean, I don't know what the condition will be as far as precipitation, but I know it's going to be ice freaking cold. That's going to impact the passing game more so than the run game. I love hearing Roquan's thoughts about playing in cold weather. He likes hitting people in cold weather because he knows they don't like being hit when it's cold. Love it.
I love that mentality. I hope they carry that into the game and again, shut down that two-headed monster. And I think that's why I picked my breakout player to be Roquan Smith. I think he's going to have another double-digit pass or tackling performance, and I think he gets his hands on a ball. I think he gets an interception this week on top of double-digit pass tackles, I should say. I think he picks him off. I'll go this far. I think he gets he picks off a target intended for Anthony Ferkser, the tight end, formerly of Tennessee, followed his coach over there. I think that's who he's guarding when he gets the pick, though.
I like it. And you can tell that Roquan's been listening to David Goggins for a while now with his mentality towards playing in the cold and stuff like that. It's absolute
inspirational guy.
Yeah, taking.
Should be listening to me. I'll give him some motivation. I'll give him some inspirational thoughts. I'll be a poster slogan on the wall like back in high school.
Oh gosh, with the kitty cat, this is hang in there, just hanging by its claws. Hang in there.
I remember the one, never insult the crocodile until you've crossed the river. Remember that, Jimbo.
How does that apply to real life, though?
Don't think about it.
I mean,
think about it. All right, let's get into our competition. Yeah. Every week,
well, my key, really quickly, my defensive key is really simple. Put the ball and the game in Riddick's hands, right? Like you said, it goes.
Ritter.
Yeah, Ritter. Excuse me, Ritter's hands, right? Like, leave it up to him to beat us, and if he beats us, well, then he beats us, right? But I think the chances of that are really slim. So, like you said, shut down the run game and tempt him to pass over and over and over again, and mistakes will be made. It's really going to be that simple.
Yeah, as long as Brandon Stevens doesn't get absolutely
he'll be
destroyed.
Nah,
yeah,
he'll be
I think so too. This isn't the this isn't the greatest show on turf coming into town.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But every week we have a series of over-unders followed by a closest to the pin tiebreaker competition here on the show. They show show participants compete in our contest portion directly for the show, but then also we open up the competition for all the fans to win some free swag. So we're going to go through a series of over-unders. If you want to participate.
And really quickly, I did find out, Glenn, that everyone that has not received anything yet is guaranteed by the 6th. I did some digging today, did some updating. We were out of stock on a few shirts, so the orders got delayed. So anyway, we appreciate your patience, but by the 6th, if you don't have a shirt and you haven't heard from me because they didn't have your size, then it is guaranteed by the 6th. Just saying.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you wait till this show to be over and comment your answers below or send us a DM and one of the handles above my head, then you can enter into the competition. Make sure if you have to change or edit your entries, erase it and put a new comment, because if you just hit edit, we can't verify that the post was made before the game and your entry will not be considered. So let's get into our first competition. All right. So this week we're going to start with, and I think this is perfect because Tyler Huntley and this passing attack it's in the crosshairs right now. Like everyone is wondering, can they get it together? And so last week he totaled just 138 yards through the air. Jimbo, will he get more or less than 155? I mean, the fact that this is the over-under, Jimbo, like, is so...
He's going over. He's going over, and I'll tell you why. Because it's in typical Giro fashion. Run the football! I hear you. And he's going to throw the heck out of the football.
Like
Yep. He's going to throw the air out of the football.
People are going to go crazy.
I know, but it's going to work. So it'll validate him just enough to.
Well, if it works, yeah.
Yeah. But he's going over. Tyler Huntley's going over, and he's going to have a heck of a game this week. What about you? I
say under. I got to see it.
All right.
I got to see it to believe it. I say under. He's got the shoulder, the weather. I mean, the receiving core. I got to see it to believe it. But damn, find the play action game. I mean, for Christ's sake, this should be easy to have some wide open receivers when you have the greatest rush. Oh my God, it drives me crazy. All right, but I say under.
Over there, big guy.
Yeah, I say under until they freaking show me that they can do it. Next one, we have Mark Andrews receiving yards. This guy's been held to an average of, I think, 35 a game since week 6. Unacceptable for a player of his caliber. I did a break caliper in there. Of his caliber. So, Jimbo, will he have more or less than 40.5 yards?
Mark is going to have 75 plus yards. Not just going over. He might double this up, Glenn. So Mark is going clear over and above this. He's going to have this in the first half.
Damn. I say he goes under it.
Oh, gosh.
I say he goes under it. I think they use...
of little faith.
No, I think they do find some tight end success, but I think it's Isaiah Likely and Mark is the smokescreen. And also, until I see it, I ain't banking on it, and I need a win.
Well, anybody to bank on, it's Mark Andrews. All right, over under here, Desmond Ridder, of course, the quarterback for the Falcons, total yards 155.5. This is a new one because normally we only do the Ravens. But we're switching it up this week, and I like this one. but I might have misread it in our. Yeah. Okay. Good. No, I didn't. All right. So
he had 135 total yards
week.
last week. Yep.
Yeah. So
that's
total
through
yards.
the air and the ground.
And the ground. Yeah. Yeah. 135 last week. The over under is 155. Glenn, I'm gonna tell you now. He's going under this.
He's going under.
He's gonna have a rough day. Yeah.
Damn.
Yep. What about you?
Tempted to change it, but I have under. I'm tempted to change it only because I wanted to be opposite you for all the answers, but I can't say he's going to go over that. So yeah, I'm going to say under, but I think he gets close. I think, look, I like Brandon Stevens, but I think he got a few times, and I think that run game is a very real deal. Now, well, and I think because of that run game, Desmond Ridder finds some lanes himself. What's
now,
up?
do penalties against Brandon Stevens go against?
No, that can't. But okay, if it did, then it'll be way over. Yeah,
because he's gonna draw a couple. He's a physical player. It just is what it is, right?
That's right. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have Ravens sack total. Jimbo, are they gonna have more or less than 2.5 sacks?
More. I'm going over on this one. I think. Yeah, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna have too much of a pipe dream here, but I think we're going over. And yeah, it's gonna be exciting. I mean, the defense is gonna show out, dude. The defense is not. The defense. They're not gonna put themselves in the same situation like they did last week. I just think they're gonna come out pissed off because they lost, even though they only gave up 13 points, and just be flying around.
Yeah, I think they go over as well. I think they get 4 sacks on Ridder. I don't see, him being able to come in as a rookie under these circumstances and excel. So yeah, I think they confuse them, run some nice stunts, some slants. They get after him with that talented group of edge players and linebackers. Yeah, they get 4 sacks. First tiebreaker is total score over under. Jimbo, is the total going to reach 34.5 points?
No, I'm going under. I think it's close, though. I'll give you my score now. The Ravens win this game 23-10. Now, a lot of people, the spread, I think, is 7.
Is it? I had it up.
But and the Ravens haven't really had
6.5.
6.5. Okay. The Ravens haven't had a decisive win of 13 points in recent memory. But once again, I think the defense being a bit pissed off, and the offense gets some big plays here, and the defense can hold it down. So I'm going 23-10, which is under at a total of 33 points. Where are you going?
I say under as well. I think that the Ravens' red zone struggles continue this week. I do think they get in the end zone once, but ultimately only win 16-10. The good thing is for them, I think Atlanta looks more inept offensively in this one. And that's the only reason that they have but I don't think they clear the spread. I think they win by 6. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be a pretty game. It's going to be I'll tell you what, Jimbo, pack some warm clothes, Jimbo.
Yeah.
I don't know how much warmth's coming off that field. I don't know how much energy's coming off that field. You got to generate that or insulate.
I'm going to give it to him, dude. I'm just going to show up in there like an Energizer bunny and let's go. I'm going to be going crazy, man. Can't wait.
Well, we need your voice for the post-game show, so don't lose it.
It's going to be rough.
Don't use it all up. That's right. But all right, closest to the pin, tiebreaker to make sure when you guys, as you guys are fighting for second place in scraps, we need to make sure we know who, in fact, did come in second place because we know who will be in first. That'll be your boy.
Yeah.
Mr. Tiebreaker, total yards for the Ravens, closest to the pin. I got us getting 285. I don't think it's going to be a very impressive offensive performance, but I think it'll be just enough to get the win.
All right. Well, I think Huntley throws it for over 155, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
So call it 160. I think we run the rock for a $160 easy.
Okay.
That's already at what, 320? Is my math right?
No.
160, 160?
Oh, I thought you said 140.
No, 160. I think we do 160 on the ground.
Okay. And you think 160 through the air? Okay.
In the air. So I put us at 310 because that's a bit, I mean, that's a perfect scenario. Put us at 310, but I think we clear 300.
Okay.
150 plus in each category.
I hope you're right. I have my doubts, but I say 285. Jimbo says 310. DK right in the middle, 300. He'll probably end up being right.
Yeah.
It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be absolutely frustrating. But I just hope that, if nothing else, I'm not totally and completely frustrated after this game like I was last week. We came on here. We were both running hot. I mean, it was tough. The fans were running hot. It was, and
it's been a rough week.
I mean, from an injury perspective, I mean, just from a national media attention has not been good on the Ravens and their organization, especially Greg Roman. I just hope when we come out of this game, it's not doom and gloom. We can't crawl out of this hole we're in. Another season, another wasted opportunity when they talk about the 2-year window that the Ravens had with Lamar Jackson on a cheap contract. I don't want to hear none of that. I want to come out of that game feeling good about this team's chances going down the rest of the stretch.
Yeah, 100%. So let us know what your guys' thoughts are. Leave all your comments below. Have a great holiday season, whatever it is you celebrate, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all of the above, none of the above.
This ain't Christmas yet, right?
No, right. But I mean, this is our preview Christmas episode. Of course, we'll be back on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
To do the post game. Make sure you guys join us. Hopefully with some good food in hand. But have a great holiday, and of course, join us in the post game. But that's it for us tonight. All you guys, thanks for coming out. I'm going to give a general shout out to all of you who came out.
Yes.
Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.